might not be appreciated by everyone, so you can understand why, when the city commissioners agreed to permit this merry-go-round, that they chose to require it be closed by midnight on Thursdays and Saturdays and by 10 p.m. on all other nights. You may ask why Thursdays particularly, and that would be because I presume excursion trains would often be run on Thursdays. But the city commissioners did agree to permit this merry-go-round to W.S. Truitt at 20 Rehoboth Avenue on June 14th, 1901. What makes this all the more interesting is that just a year earlier, on May 11th, 1900, the same set of commissioners had passed a resolution that no merry-go-rounds would be permitted east of First Street. Remember, First Street is here, and the ocean's that way to the east, right? Maybe it was a $10 license fee that swayed the commissioners. But in 1907, yet another merry-go-round was licensed to be positioned behind Horn's Pavilion at the boardwalk, also east of First Street. As prominent and interesting as merry-go-rounds are, there are very few pictures of them in Old Rehoboth. That has made it difficult to create good replicas for the two that will be displayed on the diorama. I've been able to verify the existence of 6 merry-go-round locations in Rehoboth Beach. I'm going to come back to the diorama merry-go-round that was featured in the introduction of this video, but let's talk about the others first. Here's the painting by Dana Pyle that commemorates the boardwalk merry-go-round. And here's the photograph that confirms its existence. Unfortunately, these pictures offer little detail about the character of this merry-go-round that was actually positioned over the ocean. Nevertheless, the model is under construction by my Miami-based model builder, though it's been delayed by the pandemic. But dimensions of the merry-go-round were ratioed from the picture here. So here are some of the yet unassembled component parts. I'd like to give a shout out to Bill Hoey of Millsboro, who is the sponsor of this model. Bill and I agreed that it would be circus animals that adorn the carousel. So let's move on to the third merry-go-round to be positioned in Rehoboth. I thought you might appreciate hearing a short recorded clip of Anna Beebe mentioning, while she was at my house for me to show her the diorama, that there was a merry-go-round on the lot right next to the Beebe cottage on Rehoboth Avenue. Remember that this vibrant lady is 100 years old.
Well, and there used to be a merry-go-round
Where?
next to us.
Here.
Yeah.
There was a merry-go-round there.
Wow.
When? In the 1930s.
Oh,
When you lived there.
when I lived,
How
when
old
we
were
lived
you?
there, yeah.
How old were you
That
then?
was owned by Horns.
In 1930, I was 10.
Okay.
You would remember that.
And you'd go around and catch a gold
Catch the ring. We did that too
Gold
when I was
ring.
when I was
and get
growing
a
up.
free ride.
Yep. If you get the
Okay.
brass ring, you get a free ride.
Yeah.
And I remember the big kids could get 2. They'd figure out how to get 2 rings.
Yeah, there's a merry-go-round there.
So let's study this a minute. Here's a picture of the Beebe cottage from about 1910. Notice that the lot to its right is vacant. And Here's a Sanborn insurance map from 1922 that shows a vacant lot at that location next to the Beebe Cottage. And here is a 1931 aerial picture of Rehoboth Avenue that also shows a vacant lot at that location. So if Anna Beebe remembers a merry-go-round next to her house when she was a child, where is it? Well, there was a series of aerial photos taken by a fellow named Dolan. And in this case, a 1925 photo from the north of Rehoboth. I've had to zoom in so far that the picture is blurred, but you can see North Rehoboth Avenue. Look at the Brayton Hotel gables that I made reference to earlier in this video series. And here, without a doubt, is Anna Beebe's merry-go-round. Actually, it is not Anna Beebe's merry-go-round. It is that of James Maston. Maston also had a barber shop and an ice cream parlor at this location. It was just to the left of what was then the Blue Hen Theater and just to the right of the Anna Beebe Cottage. However, Maston, for who knows what reason, moved his merry-go-round to the south side of the avenue. Remember this 1931 picture we looked at just a moment ago? Yep, there's the new location. And once again, it is clearly a merry-go-round. Notice the round roof. It's been moved over to the south side of Rehoboth Avenue to be just next to Snyder's Sweet Shop. In fact, it is in the exact location of the original W.S. Truett merry-go-round. This colorized photo, taken about 1931, also confirms the relocation of Maston's merry-go-round. If you can look past the unbelievable number of cars parked on Rehoboth Avenue in 1931, you can find the green octagonal roof of Maston's merry-go-round at the left side of this photo. While there are a few pictures of Rehoboth's merry-go-rounds, folks do remember this particular merry-go-round. In fact, there are 50 references to this merry-go-round in the oral histories that are recorded and transcribed at the Rehoboth Beach Museum. Folks describe it as having a dirt floor, a brass ring to try to grab for a free ride, and being very fast. They also describe the experience of riding the merry-go-round and then having an ice cream at Snyder's. It was a perfect date. How many romances were spawned right there? What I do not know is what happened to this merry-go-round. If there is anyone out there that does know how long it stayed there, please let me know. I do know that it would have had to compete with the new merry-go-round that was built in the early 1930s on the boardwalk at Playland. Just to be sure, that's Playland, not Funland. This is a great picture of Playland from the beach. It's the structure behind the Ferris wheel. Speaking of an amusement that is seldom mentioned in Rehoboth history, that Ferris wheel is remembered by Kitty Cole, another grand lady with a long Rehoboth history, but she is the only person I know of that remembers that Ferris wheel. It must not have lasted very long. Now here's a picture of the front of Playland. As opposed to Funland, which is open and airy. Playland was enclosed, making it a little bit spooky, particularly since you entered by going through a hallway of mirrors. You know, the kind that make you look fat or skinny or curved. Although my memory is vague, I actually went to Playland as a kid in the 1950s. That arcade also had a boat ride that snaked around a canal of sorts. And Playland also had bumper cars, notable for the pole that reached up to a metal screen ceiling with a strap that completed the electrical circuit. It sparked brightly and profusely. Probably not the safest of arrangements. My brother actually remembers the merry-go-round better than I do. It was larger and more ornate than Rehoboth's other merry-go-rounds. Although now relocated, here's a picture of what I believe to be Playland's merry-go-round. I have unconfirmed reports that it was moved to Ocean City. Rehoboth's sixth merry-go-round is the one at Funland. Actually, that amusement center was established in the 1940s as the Sports Center. At first, a place to hit baseballs in a batting cage. Here's a picture of the Sports Center from the late 1950s. If you look carefully, you can see the lights from the merry-go-round at boardwalk level to the right under the superstructure. There is a wonderful, highly colorful oral history at the Rehoboth Beach Museum by Sharon Fisk Rose, whose grandparents, the Dentinos, her grandfather, having emigrated from Italy about 1910, built the Sports Center from scratch in the early 1940s. I can't begin to do that oral history justice here. Go to the museum, join it if you're not already a member, and ask to read that oral history. It is a classic. Among the other interesting original amusements at the Sports Center was the rifle range. It had real guns, real rifles that shot a real bullet. It was a .22 short. One of Sharon Fisk's job as a youngster was to clean up the spent shells. Among the kiddie rides that were started by the Dentinos were the fire trucks, the boats, the jet plane ride with its notable buzz, and the merry-go-round, all of which still are enjoyed by your kids and grandkids today. The city of Rehoboth owes the Foshnocks a giant debt of gratitude for preserving the character of that amusement park for all to enjoy. So let's get back to the merry-go-round that is positioned on the diorama already. Here is the only picture that captures any part at all of the merry-go-round building. It's from about 1910 and just shows the canopy entrance. I figure you might find this good quality image of Rehoboth Avenue's south side during the railroad era interesting. I learned exactly where the W.S. Truett merry-go-round was positioned when I saw this 1910 Sanborn insurance map. While I had no pictures, this map image gave me an exact location and an exact footprint. I could not wait to tell Costa Tsokolas, the owner of the Robin Hood restaurant, what stood at that location in 1910. He too was excited, and he agreed to have his family sponsor the creation of the model. It is one of the great joys of creating the diorama to share the experience of bringing such a model to life. In this case, that experience was especially rewarding. That is because when Karen and Costa Tsokolas came to my house, they brought their 9-year-old daughter Joanna to help make decisions. Joanna helped by deciding that the merry-go-round would be made up of horses rather than circus animals, and she also selected the red and green alternating colors for the octagonal roof. You will notice that I have represented Joanna here on the white horse, with her parents seated behind her on the merry-go-round bench. So you might ask, what happened to all these merry-go-rounds? The merry-go-round on the boardwalk, built about 1908, went down into the sea in the storm of 1914. It lasted about 6 years. So here's a picture of the damage from that storm. But don't expect to see the merry-go-round in this picture. The first merry-go-round, Truett's, the one built in 1902 that Joanna helped me model, was destroyed by fire during a raging thunderstorm on July 19th, 1919. In fact, all 3 of the buildings shown here were destroyed in that fire. Blackiston's Pavilion on the left, merry-go-round in the center, and the railroad's excursion building, that flatter roof building, on the right. The merry-go-round next to Anna Beebe, built there in 1923, as we've learned, was moved across the street in 1930. And I'm waiting for someone to let me know when the Maston merry-go-round on the south side of Rehoboth Avenue left the scene. The merry-go-round built for Playland in 1930 was dismounted by the storm of 1962. Here from Delaware Avenue is a picture of the aftermath from that storm. The merry-go-round at the Sports Center on the opposite side of Delaware Avenue was also dismounted by the storm of 1962. It was an act of fate that storm occurred in the late stages of the deal between the Dentinos and the Foshnocks. In the end, the 2 parties patched up the deal anyway, and the Sports Center merry-go-round was preserved for our kids to enjoy today. I leave you with a picture of the merry-go-round as it appeared at the Sports Center just prior to the storm of 1962. It is behind the famous yellow train ride. That engine survives and is displayed at the Rehoboth Beach Museum today. I figure it's an appropriate place to finish off this video. Not only a picture of a merry-go-round, but also a picture of a train.